Go
Hey,
ahead. You can start it.
good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We are Keycode Media. His name is Doug Russell.
That's James Page.
And behind all of the equipment and the cameras today, we have Robbie Smith directing the show, proving that one person can do everything.
Well, one well-trained person can do everything, and then there's Robbie. So we'll get through it.
Right. So today we're going to talk about how to effectively live stream for corporate communications. So to begin with, we should really talk about who in corporate communications is using live
Who in what?
Corporate communications is using live streaming and then how they're using it.
Yeah. A couple of use cases talking about external and internal uses for live streaming.
Right.
External product launches, client communications, customer engagement, things like that, reaching out to your population and getting their attention, getting them to buy your product or whatever it is you're trying to communicate with them.
And typically we've seen a lot of brands do that on Facebook Live and YouTube Live and on their websites, directly communicating to their end consumer, their end buyer.
You've got something to sell, you've got something to say. It's a great way to get their attention with a live stream.
Right.
Then you've got internal. You've got things like training, company meetings, C-level presentations, town halls, communication with remote sites, all ways to use, all avenues for live streaming to up your game, I guess, to improve communication, to reach people in a timely manner. You've got offices all over the planet. You don't have to email a packet anymore. You don't have to send them information and get everybody together. You don't have to lease satellite time to try and reach everybody.
Which we know some of our clients still lease satellite time to do communications between offices.
Now you can simply, with a camera and a simple setup, have a live stream going and get your message out immediately. Training, you can at that moment on the spot get people trained up if there's some kind of an emergency or some kind of shift in the way you do business. You can immediately reach everybody, make sure everybody's on the same page at the same time, and keep rolling forward.
Right. So we've talked about the ways we can use live streaming.
Yeah.
Why should we use live streaming other than the one case we used about expensive satellite time? So we've got some really interesting stats that we've kind of whittled down from a brand new industry survey. So this, if you're not already convinced to do live streaming for corporate communications, maybe this will help convince
This might help sell it,
right,
to either up the chain or to you if you're watching. So
the big one, the headline that stuck out to me the most was 81% of audiences prefer to watch live video about a product rather than read about it on a blog or a website post.
They want to be engaged. I want it fed to me right now. I want you to tell me everything about it. I don't want to have to research it. I don't want to look for it.
Right.
It's too easy for me just to sit and consume than to go out and find it. So
right.
It doesn't surprise me. 81%. Video quality is the second key factor, and it's 67% of the viewers when watching find video quality the most important thing when it comes to the live stream of that video is video quality.
And the other takeaway on that point was, of those people who watch the live stream, 1 in 4, when presented with a poor quality live stream, would hesitate to purchase from that brand because they obviously think that the poor quality live stream is indicative of a poor quality service or a poor quality product.
Poor quality product.
So if you're going to do live streaming, best do it well.
You better do it right, or they're gonna take the quality of that live stream and directly apply it to your company or your product. Not a good idea. So 4 times as many consumers would rather watch a video about a product and read about it. We kind of touched on that in the first one about the 80% of the audience who prefer live video. 4 times as many would rather watch a video. So if right now you're putting out blog posts, you're putting pictures and descriptors of a new product or a new idea you have, you're not reaching people. People don't care. They're going somewhere else.
Right. And talking about product videos, people will spend 8 times longer watching a live video about a product or an announcement or anything than something that's recorded. I think it's something to do with that kind of human interaction of anything can happen live, and it's less polished and it's more raw and it's direct to the consumer.
I agree. I think also too that with canned video, I can scrub through it. I can come back to it anytime. It's there. If I need it, it's there.
Right.
Live video, I have to stay or it's gone.
Right.
I have to be a part of it, be watching it, be engaged as it's happening because obviously it's live. So video on social media, which we'll talk about, generates 12 times more shares than text and images combined. So if you want your customers and your clients to get the word out
And tell other people about it.
and tell other people about it, video is the way to do it. And finally, businesses using video grow revenue 49% faster than those who don't.
Right.
And that
So congratulations, audience. You're in that group of people who have realized this.
exactly.
That video is now a key.
Congratulations, your business is going to grow 49% faster than your competitors because
If
you're
you-
watching us.
Yes.
If you engage the principles and the technologies that we're going to talk about today.
Right. So I think with that out of the way, what we should really do is talk about the different kinds of engagement styles you can use on live streams. So let's do that.
Absolutely.
So I think the first point we have to make, Doug, is that PowerPoint for live video is dead.
Deed.
Dead.
Please, 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 please.
If you want to kill your viewership quicker, the quickest way possible, use PowerPoint.
Yeah, throw a PowerPoint presentation up and just speak
Right.
to it.
We saw some statistics of a recent industry event that took place on Facebook Live, and it was a two-hour Q&A, advertised as a 2-hour Q&A industry event, and they had 3,500 viewers.
Which you think that's not bad,
That's
really.
not bad. But when we dug into the statistics of the stream, half of those, over 50%, it was like 52%, only stayed for 10 seconds. And of the people who stayed longer, the
10
average viewing time of this 2-hour event was just over 1 minute.
So people tuned in, saw that PowerPoint slide,
Right.
or saw the presentation, went, nah, I'm done.
Yes, because
And
for the
went on.
first hour, it was just full screen PowerPoint with a voiceover. Nobody had any context of who was speaking to them, what the event was, and it was also a different type of stream than they were expecting. So there was a huge drop-off in the viewership. We're going to come on to graphics later, and we can talk about how you would integrate bullet points and data that you need to show the viewer rather than just
Yeah,
talk
there
about.
are ways to do it without throwing up PowerPoint
Right.
slides. So yeah, we'll certainly get to that. One of the things we want to talk about briefly is style. And you're going to have to find the video presentation style that fits you. This is a two-person kind of a talking head presentation that we're doing. And this may totally fit your company, your brand, or whatever it is. But you really need to find what exemplifies who
Right.
you are and the brand you're trying to produce. One of the best ways to do this, and I tell people this all the time, is go home, sit down tonight, whether it's on a TV or laptop, whatever, and watch. But don't sit there and watch for content,
What are we watching?
for style.
Right.
You're watching to see when lower thirds come up, when graphics are introduced, when cameras cut back and forth. What is catching your attention
Right.
when it comes to the presentation of that program, whether it's something on YouTube or a TV show, news program, whatever.
On the shopping network.
Exactly.
Right.
Find that program that kind of matches the style that you want to emulate and see how they produce. Because if it's getting your attention, it's
Right.
going to get the fans' attention. It's going to
Right.
get your customers' attention.
And, television has been in production for decades, so
They know what they're doing.
you're not going to invent something that nobody else has thought
No.
of.
But
right.
you're going to see things you didn't realize you were seeing for years because you just never paid attention to it. You're always
Right.
focused on content and not the style of it. So do some homework. Find your style so that when we start talking about equipment and graphics and social media, it all gets wrapped up into that style component.
And I think the other main point is be consistent in your approach. Because if
Absolutely.
you start to build up an audience, they're going to have expectations about what they're going to see. And if you change and bounce between styles and even presenters, that can really affect your audience retention.
There's a familiarity
Right.
that's built, a bond almost with people when they come back and see that same person talking to them again and again. And they especially if they buy the product, they suddenly trust that person
Right.
because they have the product, they like the product. So yeah, absolutely. Continuity is huge.
Right. So we haven't even talked about yet about how we're doing this today. So we're using an all-in-one video production switcher. We at Keycode Media, we sell a lot of these TV
Yes, we
stations
do.
in a box, effectively. So Robbie, if you can cut back to the wide angle that we had up at the start of the show, you can see there. If you want to swing back a little bit, Robbie, we can see that control surface. So Robbie's effectively directing the show from that one control panel. We can see that right there, and we have multiple cameras plugged in, and I think that's the big difference between an amateur kind of production and a professional production is this use of multiple camera angles.
A YouTube video and a professionally
Right.
produced
So here
live stream,
we've
yes.
cut, to a side camera, which might be useful if you're demonstrating a product, and then we can cut back to the master camera. If you're doing product demonstrations, you might have a close-up tabletop camera. You might have
Something
a handheld,
overhead, shooting
something
straight down.
overhead.
Yeah.
If you're doing like a cooking type show, we're very familiar with seeing these. Cameras are now relatively inexpensive.
Very. Yeah, you're going to be, if you're not familiar with the technology and the cost, it's going to amaze you. The capabilities of cameras these days and the cost is
Right.
that race to zero we keep talking about internally. The cost of this equipment has come down to the point, and that's kind of the main reason we're here, is
Right.
it's affordable now. It's not something you have to go out and find a company to come in and produce a live video or live stream for you. You can afford to do it. And what you're paying somebody else to come in and do those can probably staff and pay for the equipment in a year.
Right.
Your ROI is huge. And when you do that, everybody else in the company starts to notice. So your HR folks see that you're doing live streaming and they want to get involved. Your marketing, your communications, everybody sees that you're live streaming and producing video and they want to start getting involved. So it really grows maybe out of a marketing
Right.
or a communication group, and suddenly the whole company will be involved and engaged in the production process.
Right, and the other thing we mentioned at the top is we have one person running this whole show today. Traditionally, you would have one person per camera, one person on the audio mixer, one person on the switcher. Those days are gone. We're actually, our main camera now, Robbie, I don't know if you can see in the PTZ settings, we have a robotic camera as our main camera, which is the one I'm talking to you right now. So we can use that one robotic camera to get different looks. So we can pan left and right with it. We can zoom in and out. And if you look, Robbie, on the bottom left of that screen on your main monitor, you'll see some PTC presets there. And we can just instantly go to different, instantly.
Instantly go,
I guess we're
Robbie.
live.
Robbie, instantly go.
That camera can bounce between different angles.
Absolutely. Well, and what's interesting too is what most people you may or may not know, back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, even the early 2000s, news production, right? Your live news
Right.
at 6, live news at 5, whatever it was done in studio with a bunch of camera guys, these huge $100,000 cameras on these beautiful dollies that smoothly move back and forth. Those days are gone. They are gone. Now everything was robotic. And there are robot dollies and robot cameras, much like the one you're seeing up there, the PTZ camera, that are producing
Right.
these amazing shows, smoothly and cutting back and forth and giving you different views and angles at a fraction
Right.
of what it used to cost, and a fraction of the need for talent as well.
Right. So we've covered cameras and switches. I guess now we should probably talk about lighting. So as we mentioned at the start, video quality is a key factor in keeping audience retention and watching all of your video. And one of those aspects that is often overlooked is lighting.
Lighting.
And today we're shooting this in one of our offices. We actually switched off the main traditional strip lighting in the office, and we're just using, with this wide shot that Robbie's just punched up, you can see here and there, we have 2 LED panels, very lightweight, low power usage, not like lighting used to be, where it's heavy, hot, power hungry.
We had to build a studio and put a grid up there to hang these
Right.
30, 40-pound lights from, and you had to have separate circuits for the power, and they generated massive amounts of heat,
Right.
and they were just a pain.
Right, and very expensive.
And incredibly expensive. Now you have these nice LED panel lights that can be packed in a little bag and
Right,
taken
carried around anywhere.
anywhere.
And we're only using 2. Usually we would recommend 3 to 5. The reason for that is we have this great natural backdrop. If you
Yeah.
go to the wide shot again.
It's real,
Robbie,
by the way.
you
That's
can
the
see
window.
This is the window, and if we overlit it, we would just have too many reflections, and we've
Yeah.
got this nice backlighting coming through. So again, it's going to depend on your scenario and the exact situation. And the great thing about this portable setup is if we were to move the studio somewhere else where we didn't have this kind of backlighting, we could just pop up another couple of lights.
Absolutely. Lighting is key. Please don't overlook it. It's something you need to consider. Listen to whoever is consulting with you on this project for live streaming, and take it to heart when they talk about lighting. It needs to be good.
Yeah, and if, after you've built up a lot of live streaming experience and you want to build a permanent studio, that's when you can put in the lighting grid and a permanent setup
Absolutely.
later on. But again, these things that were considered expensive and only in the realms of the top tier professionals, not anymore.
No more. And even if you don't have this, you talked about our beautiful backdrop back here. Even if you don't have this, you may want to put this in a studio and do a virtual set. And
or as it used to be called, a green screen.
A green screen, yes. Hugely important to ensure that your lighting is absolutely correct if you're doing any kind of virtual set. So pay attention, know that lighting is important, and
well, it's a topic for another day, but the thing we should mention is if you are if you are doing chroma keying or green screen, is you have to light the backdrop as well as lighting
the talent,
and we use that term loosely. So it's
as we are sitting here, right?
It's a little bit more complicated
talent.
when you're lighting for a green screen scenario to make it look professional, because the worst thing you can do is have that 1960s bad sci-fi special effect where we're having haloing,
the glow,
around the talent.
Yes, the breakup around the edges,
So to do it well, it takes a little bit of skill.
But it doesn't take a lot of cost.
Right.
And you can do it well.
Right.
So what are we rolling into next?
So the next major important aspect of a production to maintain viewership and quality is audio.
Audio.
The other thing that a lot of people overlook is audio and the quality of audio. And today we are wired up with little lavalier microphones. You might recognize them.
I think I've hit mine once or twice already and probably annoyed the heck out of you. So
right. So these are traditional kind of lavalier microphones. We're wired into a mixer, which we have on the desk here. So when people are speaking at different levels and different volumes, they can all be adjusted so everybody kind of sounds the same.
Absolutely.
But the biggest mistake we see a lot of people make is, well, my camera came with a microphone, so I'm just going to use the microphone on the cameras. So what we're going to do now is show you the difference. So if you can cut to our side camera over here and bring up the levels on the camera and bring the levels on our mics down.
And you're going to probably hear a huge difference in what you heard earlier and the audio from the camera mic, right?
So right now, if you cut to that camera, we're just using that this camera's audio, which is a shotgun mic on top of a regular ENG style camera on a tripod, and you can tell that this is in an equi room.
Wonderful audio.
Right.
So this is a perfect example of what not to do. Spend the time, invest in your audio. It's not a huge investment, but rolling back to that very first fact we talked about poor video quality, audio goes right along with it. If people can't hear, they're not going to pay attention. So take the time. And whether it can be wired or wireless, depending on where you're at. I mean, we're wired in. We always recommend if you're seated, if you're not moving, go wired.
Right.
But if you're on stage, for example, doing a live stream from stage,
and you want to be walking around.
You're going to be walking around. There's no reason why you couldn't have wireless microphones as well. Handhelds, ceiling mics, tabletop mics, all kinds of different choices. It really depends on the live stream, the location, the situation, how you want to present.
Right.
A bunch of different ways to accomplish it, but I think the main point is good audio makes the video even better.
Right. And Robbie, if you cut back to that wide shot again, you can see Robbie's wearing a stylish pair of headphones right there that are plugged into his mixer. So we're using an outboard mixer in this setup, which is something we always recommend unless space is limited and you're transporting stuff and you need to keep the kit to a minimum. An outboard mixer, relatively inexpensive, and that can be used on the fly to adjust different levels.
Absolutely.
So if you have a different speaker coming up, and monitoring the audio as the stream is going out is really critical.
Huge as well.
The number of times we've seen live events start where there's no audio or somebody's mic's not on, and they find out 5 minutes into the stream because the comments are coming in like, we can't hear you or your mic's off. So again, if you want to avoid the easy mistakes, having that mixer, having that monitor headset is a really basic thing to be doing.
It is, but it's something you have to pay attention to. What do we got next?
And next up, let's talk about graphics.
Graphics. Yay, graphics.
So one of the things Doug mentioned earlier was watching TV and watching the other things you like to get an idea of how they feel and how they do it. And we also mentioned consistency on your brand. So chances are you already have a marketing department with a brand person that goes around making sure everybody uses the logo in the right colors and the right sizes. And
the right font.
And the right fonts. And that's important to maintain consistency and promote your brand through the video.
It is.
And on-screen graphics, depending on the type of content, is going to vary. So right now, for instance, Robbie, if you could punch some graphics up, like right now we can show our website address along the bottom. We might want to say a "We're Live" kind of bug above your head, Doug, somewhere up there. And different types of productions are going to use different types of graphics. So for instance, we can have lower thirds announcing who we are coming in and out. We also might want to do, you might want to scoot me over there and then bring some sidebar graphics in and cut Doug out of the shot for a second while we bring up, whilst we bring up some bullet points that we're talking about.
Cheers just went out across the internet.
That's right.
I was cut out of the shot.
And, we can bring it back in. And this can all be automated through macros and automation, which is a detailed topic to go into today. But this, again, Robbie's punching this whole show by himself because we've set it up beforehand. And looking at the type of graphics you want and maintaining that consistent feel and not overloading the viewer with too many details, because they might be watching this on a very small screen on their phone.
Absolutely.
Or, so you can't, you have to think about font size and the types of information you want to get across.
But it's a great way to make your live stream look even that much more professional.
Right.
Doing some simple lower thirds like you saw, a bug, a crawl, maybe an RSS feed with information going across the bottom.
Stock
whatever
ticket.
it is. Yeah, anything like that. It ups the production level of your live presentation, your live stream, and adds a quality of professionalism that you're honestly looking for.
Right. So. And the thing we mentioned right at the top about engagement was PowerPoint being dead. If you do need to give slides, which, may be more an internal kind of use for live streaming, like you're doing a corporate presentation, results, or HR or something like that, and that person comes with their slide deck and you need to use it, but you still want to keep that engagement, here are a couple of different ways we can do that. So Robbie, if you punch up the 2 box, so here he's showing the laptop that I have right here. The screen on there we're sharing with the switcher as an input, just like a camera. Yep. And then I can click here and advance some slides, and you can see how easy that is to bring that up as a picture-in-picture. You might see this on the news when people cut to different things, or the weather presenter and that kind of thing. And it maintains that you have a human to look at, and you're seeing who's speaking, but you're still delivering that traditional presentation in that kind of format.
What you see these days is news organizations have gotten away from obviously the big screens, PowerPoints, but they'll put bullet points in their lower thirds now.
Right.
Watch any of the major news channels, and as they're speaking, have their conversation, there's somebody back there typing up these lower thirds and putting subject points, bullet points, quotes, or whatever are coming in, so you can still roll information in and not have to take up the whole screen or do a giant PowerPoint presentation. You can still have that info there, but in a clean and professional looking manner.
And again, that can be pre-canned. It can be done ahead of time. If you know the presentation you're giving, these things can be set up as graphics in the production ahead of time, so then the operator is just advancing one to the next. And then a lot of the systems that we sell and integrate, that can be done in real time. You can be punching in text that comes up and changing it on the fly, which, depending on the type of event you're doing, that may be a factor.
Absolutely.
And speaking of doing real-time graphics, we should really talk about social media.
Social media.
So one of the big advantages you have live streaming over traditional post-produced video delivery and even broadcast television is the ability to interact with your audience in real time.
As we're doing right now.
Right. So we have one of our engineers actually in the chat on Facebook Live. If you're watching this on YouTube, sorry, we'll answer your questions later. But if you're in the Facebook Live chat right now, you can see one of our engineers answering questions that you may have coming in. In fact, post them up, and we'll be doing this in real time. That two-way integration, two-way interactivity with the audience really keeps retention. If they think they're part of the show, and we've seen this in some of the...
their voice matters, what they have to say is important, and they're heard.
Right. And we've seen this in a lot of the brands we work with, like keeping that interactivity going with the viewer is really key, apart from your audio's not working and your mic's not working, which we talked about before. But genuinely, if the producer or whoever's behind the camera is seeing the same kind of question coming in and seeing patterns, then they can be in the ear of the talent.
Or on the screen in front of the
talent. Or on the return monitor, which we have here, to show us, what we should be talking about next. And there's some other products out there that integrate really closely with these platforms so that the talent on air can see whether people are liking the stream or asking questions or giving them thumbs up. You can even do voting in real time now through graphics.
It's amazing how much engagement and interaction you can get with the audience now. It's no longer, in a live stream, it's just no longer throwing it out there and hitting people in the face with it and trying to get them to pay attention. You can engage now. Conversations, question and answer sessions, polling, like you said, you name it. It's hypercritical in this day and age of social media to use that engagement to your benefit.
Right. And speaking of interactivity, we're here in person today, but let's talk about other mechanisms we can use to bring people into the production. So today we're just the two of us sitting here and then Robbie behind the deck. If we wanted to bring in a contributor from somewhere else.
You don't have to fly them in anymore.
Right. So especially for corporations with multiple sites, this can be a great cost-saving thing that you can do a production with multiple people. And Robbie, if you want to punch up some graphics here to show you what that looks like. Anybody who's watched cable news, they have 8 lawyers or politicians arguing with each other at the same time.
They're not all 8 in the studio, by the way.
No, they're usually in their basement now with a laptop. Before that, we used to be a satellite truck or dedicated ISDN lines to do audio comms. Now it's just, we can just use Skype. So we can now bring in any user that's got a Skype app or laptop and bring them in as a contributor. And that includes return audio, two-way video. So
producers can talk to talent without being over the air to prep the talent, tell them when they're on, make sure they're ready. And a key factor in this is not quite the same Skype you use on your laptop. Something called Skype TX, and it's a professional version of Skype for broadcast. So it's got the bandwidth to carry a great video and audio signal in minimal delay. And it's like James said, it's just a great way to bring people in. You don't have to fly them, put them in a hotel, get them to and from your site for what could be a 3 to 5 minute interview, maybe.
We've actually worked with a couple of companies that do training across the world, and they actually paid for their entire studio in one training session because they were having to fly C-level executives around business class to come to attend these sessions, and instead they flew out a Skype kit instead. They didn't even need to do that. They could have just used a laptop and had them interact with the training session and the meeting that way. And that greatly reduced their cost. And also saved a lot of time because then these people aren't traveling around. And
that's the soft cost that a lot of businesses don't recognize. They recognize, the cost of the airline and the cost of the hotel and the car and all that, but it's the soft cost of the hours saved, the hours that C-level or any person is in their desk working. Because every minute they're away is another minute they have to catch up. And so it's not just being away, but when you get back, how long does it take you to get back to productivity? How many emails are in your bin? How many messages are waiting for you? How much time does it take? So that soft cost is huge. So if you're using Skype instead of sending people, the savings are immense.
And the other thing we should mention is time zones, because one of our clients in this neighborhood, they run a 24/7 studio because they have engineers all around the world,
all over the planet,
and they need to have meetings with other engineers and do training sessions with them, sharing their screens and talking about technical issues. And they just do that through one central studio, which they've located here. It doesn't matter what time zone they're in. They don't have to fly anybody around any equipment. They just bring them in all through Skype.
They live stream their meetings across the globe and bring everybody in. We talked about it way at the beginning when we started, having that real-time instant connectivity across the planet.
So that's how to bring people into a production. We should also mention that, today we're in our office building. Most of this equipment could be thrown in cases and taken on the road.
Oh, easily.
But the one big problem that people face when doing live productions on the road is we still have to have the internet reliable, to do streaming. So, Doug, you've had past professional experience.
I have had a day or two of trying to stream from other locations. And all the stuff that you saw in the cutaways when we cut to that back camera is easily man-packable. You can put it into a case, you can carry it, check it on an airline, put it in the back of a van. You don't need a big production truck anymore. But as James said, the key is getting to the internet. And if you've ever had to do a conference at a hotel, you know what it costs to get an internet line at a hotel. Massively expensive.
Or a convention center.
A convention center, anything. Or just if you want to do something on location in a warehouse, maybe you have a production facility and you want to be live showing something coming off the conveyor belt for the first time.
You might sell surfboards or something, or skis, and you can't exactly show them in an office building.
Showing you that ski doesn't do a lot of good in an office building, right? You kind of like to see it on the mountain, wouldn't you, or a surfboard on the ocean. There's technology out there now that allows you to take this production and take it outside. All you need is a cell signal. That's it. If your phone works there, you can have a broadcast quality live stream in the field. And the cost is way less than you would think. And this is gear you can own, so you always have it available. We see a lot of, I mean, it's being used all the time.
Yeah,
It's-
every
it's-
night if you watch your local news, this is what local news are now using to do their remote shots. They're no longer really getting satellite trucks and microwave
No.
trucks out there. It's just usually one reporter, their phone, and then one of these backpacks, and away they go.
Yeah, and they're able to produce anywhere outside as long as they can get a cell signal. So you don't have to think inside the building, inside the conference room, inside anymore. You can start thinking out, get your product out, get your message out, get out to the people who consume or the people you want to communicate and meet with, and bring that live stream out to them.
Right. So we've got all the way now up to talking about how to get out, how to get your stream out.
Yeah.
What we haven't talked about yet is where are you streaming to? So just to show you the flexibility of this kind of production, Robbie, if you want to cut to the wide shot, we did mention before that we have 3 cameras. We actually have 4, and we have one in another room. So Robbie, if you want to do your bit, Robbie's going to get up now, and small intermission. He's going to get up. He's going to go into our other room here, which is set up with a camera and lights there too. And Robbie's going to talk about different ways, different platforms for
Platforms for getting your
live streaming.
Yeah.
And so now,
So somebody's got to get back on the gear over there, which leaves me at the table all by myself.
right. So I'm going to.
Do I have to entertain and engage while you guys are walking? Because people are going to start clicking away real quick. Great.
All right. So you want to mention?
So yeah, we've got Robbie in the back room, and he's going to talk about the different platforms you can use to get your message out. James is now on the gear. So Robbie, it's up to you, man. Take it away.
Thanks, Doug. I can't believe they actually let me be in front of the camera this time. So I'm here to talk to you about CDNs, or content delivery networks. Now, what is a CDN? A CDN is the apparatus that is used to take your live stream and put it on the internet. That allows your viewers to see your live stream. Now, there's a variety of them that people use nowadays, and one of the most popular ones is YouTube. So with YouTube Live, it's very easily accessible. You already have a built-in audience. It's widely known, but there are some copyright restrictions, meaning that you don't have the permission to air the music that's being played in the background or in the foreground of the production. If YouTube finds out that you don't have permission, they will shut your stream down. Also, you don't have control over the advertisements, so it's potentially that your competitor could have an ad before or after your stream, and that is something that you don't want. And one most important thing is you don't own your content. YouTube owns that content. Now, another alternative to YouTube is Facebook Live. Now, Facebook is a globally recognized platform. It encourages interactivity and sharing, just like we're doing right now. But it's also the wild, wild west for the copyright music usage, meaning that Facebook will probably take a day or two before they realize that you don't have the permission to use that type of music. Now, also, one of the downsides to Facebook Live is the resolution, which is 720p. Now, the video uploads have a 10 times higher reach than YouTube does, but it can also be difficult to set up than YouTube. So there are some pluses and minuses between YouTube and Facebook Live. Now, another option is Vimeo. Now, Vimeo used to be known as a video on demand service. Recently, they've decided to add live streaming, and it's very, very affordable. Plans start at $80 a month. Now, this gives you the highest quality of video you could possibly put onto the internet, and there are no ads. You also pay what you want to use, and you own your content. Now, the downside to that is that you have to bring your audience to Vimeo or have it embedded in your website. So there's a little bit of local and limited social engagement unless you add that feature onto the website. Now, another option is using what we call a white label CDN, which is typically known as Akamai or Azure. Those are the pay-for-use services, and they can get pretty expensive. And also, the support, depending upon what plan you choose, can be expensive as well. Now, there are no ads to that, but you could also take the CDN and put it onto your website and drive the traffic there, meaning that you are giving the impression that you are servicing this website, and you get to own everything that's on there. So I think that's all that I know. Oh, I gotta get back to work. Talk to you later.
Cheers, Robbie. Thank you. Appreciate it. But now you've got to come actually back in. So Robbie, sit. James is going to come over. We're going to wrap things up here. We're running a little short on time, so we're just going to briefly talk about costs, and then we'll wrap things up and get you back to whatever it is that's probably very important that you're doing today. So, James, go ahead. Costs.
So a lot of people think TV studio costs several $100,000.
No.
And that's not the case anymore. I think as we've been going down these sections of the things we've been talking about today, we've kept saying, not expensive as you think. Things are a lot cheaper than they used to be.
Absolutely.
You can build a corporate studio for about $10,000.
Absolutely.
On the small end.
Very
with a couple
simple,
of
but
cameras.
very powerful.
Right. To do everything we've done today.
And it
obviously,
just goes up from there.
you can keep. The great thing we like about live production is as people's skills increase, as they get more audience, you can start augmenting, adding different things, improving, adding extra cameras, adding extra lights, adding different types of graphics, that kind of thing, and just building it out as you grow. So you don't have to do this huge investment up front. And in fact, a lot of you people everybody's watching and the companies are watching right now probably have done some kind of live stream, but it's usually been a rental or a service company that
somebody's come in and done it for you.
Right.
And I challenge you to go back and find that invoice, that final invoice for labor, equipment, and time that you had to pay, and take that for a year and look at what you paid out for somebody else to do this and realize that you can do it.
And own it.
But and own it. Not only those 4 or 5 events you did, but this could be an every day or every other day, whatever. This is a tool that you can utilize and get an amazing ROI out of. Not only immediately, but it just keeps rolling.
Right.
The profit, the ROI just keeps rolling in. You will make money. You will save money just by doing what we've done here.
And according to that study, your sales will grow 49% faster.
49%. They're already growing right now.
Right.
I think we've covered all we.
Yeah. So we didn't want to get too specific into the technology because we're going to come back over the weeks and months and go into each of these things in more detail. But as technology is ever changing, we wanted to keep this a little bit evergreen and high level. So links to some of our favorite products and solutions will be in the description below. If you're watching this on YouTube, hello from the past.
Yeah.
If you're watching,
wish you would have been here. It was a good time.
Right. If you're still watching on Facebook Live, our staff and engineers are still in the comments.
Answering questions.
They're answering questions. We're going to keep the chat window going for a little while. If not,
we'll throw our contact info up again, so if people want to contact us.
So down below, this is our web address. Contact us anytime. We'll answer your questions. We'd love to hear from you. And
this is what we love to do. So, it's that big difference between sales and engineering and all that. We love what we do, but it's a passion for us. We want to help you achieve your goals, and we enjoy helping you do that. It's not always, as our boss would say, you kill me for this, it's not always about the money, but sometimes it's just about helping you get the message out and help you get your job done. So we're here to help. Whatever we can do to help, let us know.
So thanks for watching today. And if you're watching on Facebook Live, this video will be on our YouTube channel in a few hours' time. And if you want to share it from there, if not, thanks very much for watching.
Thanks for being with us. We appreciate it.